Most of you all started your business to serve, or you had something you wanted to address, and so starting your business really is your way of serving. But what happens is often, based off other models we hear or we see, we take on more of a corporate or authoritative type of leadership. But the trend, not really a trend, but the 21st century leader has to be a servant leader. And if you look at some of the larger companies, they've already embraced this training, they already embraced this idea, and it's now time for us as smaller firms to do the same. So I'm talking today about the 10 guiding principles of servant leadership. Now, this is something that we're going to go through, but this is something we want to work on continuously. Okay, so after we do this presentation, I want you to look at those 10 and say, man, I need to work on number 3, number 5, and just constantly improve yourself. The first one is listening. And there's a big difference between listening and hearing. A lot of people, there's active listening. We're going to do some exercise a little later on about listening. But listening can make the difference between a mediocre organization and a great one. And that's a quote from Lee Iacocca, former CEO of Ford and Chrysler. When you're talking to people, are you really listening? And listening involves not just what they're saying, but how they're saying it, the environment they're saying it in, their body language, just really picking up on everything that the person does. And we're going to talk about that as we go a little bit further. But you really want to make sure you start to listen. Now, when we're talking about these traits and these guidelines, I want you to look at using them not only in your own organization, but again, as we mentioned through this whole presentation today, you want your people to watch the same presentation, and when they're out in the field, you want them to be exhibiting some of these same qualities. I've been in several situations where I'm talking to people and I'm hearing things that apparently they're not hearing. And the person you really want to hear is your customer. Are you talking to your customer? Are you listening to your customer? If you listen to your customer properly, you'll find the best way to serve them. You'll find opportunities that they may not be necessarily saying. And as an entrepreneur, we tend to have an ear to catch opportunities. Well, you want to pass that on to your employees as well. I was at another project, and the guy in the field apparently was just concerned about what was going on there in the field. And all day they were talking about all the other projects they were going to work on and all the things that they were going to do after this project was over, the other subcontractors. But again, he was so narrow-minded on what he was doing, that he never relate that back to the owner, who I know is telling me at the same time, man, where can I find some more opportunities? Well, if your people are all listening, they could be coming back and say, hey, this next group is going over here. So you want to make sure that you pass this on to everybody in your organization. Empathy. And people have heard this quote several times. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Okay? People want to know that your heart is involved in this whole process of being a servant leader. I've seen situations, you probably know situations where if you don't talk to your people, you won't know what's going on with your people. You won't know what issues they may have. But once they see that you have empathy for them, and again, empathy being the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. I was watching a movie the other day. It was a Western. And these guys were about to go, they're trying to get across this vast desert. And one guy was like, let's just get on the horses and go. He had no empathy for the fact that the horses need to have time to rest. They need to have time to get water. And his mindset was, let's just go as fast as we can. Well, the other guy that was much wiser, that had empathy, said, you know what? If we don't stop here and rest these horses and water them down, halfway through the trip, they're going to die. And then a couple hours later, we're going to die, right? But if you're not an empathetic leader, I've seen people that have just worked their people with no empathy for the fact that these people have families. These people have dreams and aspirations. When was the last time you sat down with an employee and asked them, what is it that you're interested in? What are some things you're doing? What are some of the things that motivate you? And real servant leaders will be able to tell you that. And once you find that out, it helps you to be a better leader, because now you know how to motivate and how to work with other people. Because if we go further down, we'll talk about the ability to persuade people. People are not persuaded by you if they don't feel that you're empathetic to them and what concerns them. Healing. This is a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. And Sandra kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier in her example. As my sufferings mounted, I soon realized that there were two ways in which I could respond to my situation. I could either to react with bitterness or seek to transform the suffering into a creative force. I decided to follow the latter course. So when we first started this whole process, we talked about the fact that in the construction community, MBE, WB, there's been all kinds of issues, all kinds of things that didn't happen, that didn't work, that shouldn't have happened. And now, as a leader, you have to have a mindset that says, and Marvin's mentioned this several times, that, you know what, I don't care what's happened in the past, what's going on here. I've decided that of the two choices I can make, either to be bitter or to transform this into something creative, I'm going to transform it. And that goes all the way down, again, Sandra mentioned, to your workforce. You know, that we do hear about problems on the workforce, problems on the project. And the first thing we always find out is that because no one ever took the time to say, you know what, I'm going to transform this into something great. I'm going to say, okay, this didn't work out, but how are we going to fix it from here? It ends up festering. And I've actually talked to people, and they'll start talking about a problem, and I ask them about it. It happened 2 years ago, 3 years ago on another job. It never was fixed from a project 2 years ago, so now they're carrying that into every other project. So again, you want to heal some of those situations, not only with your employees, but also with the other people that you deal with in the contracting community. Awareness. Billie Jean King said, I think self-awareness is probably the most important thing toward being a champion. And you want to be aware not only of yourself, but also the environment that you're in, the times that's going on, you know, what's going on in particular environment. You know, you look at some of the firms that have been passed by because of technology, because they weren't aware of what was coming up on them. You know, you're looking at green building, all kinds of things that you need to be aware of, and how it affects not only you, but your clients. What's the hot button for your clients? You need to ask your client, what are some of the things that you're dealing with? You need to be aware of what some of their situations are. Because believe me, the person that can go to them and offer a solution to something that they have as an issue is going to be the person that they want to do business with. Because you've taken the time to not only be aware of yourself, but also aware of what their environment might entail as well. Number 5 is persuasion. And this is where servant leadership really has to be, it's really different from an authoritative type leader. An authoritative type leader leads based off of his position. I'm the boss, so I tell you to do something, and you do it, okay? And really, that's probably the weakest form of leadership. If the only reason you're doing is because I sign your check, then you're really not really following me. I'm just kind of forcing you based on the dynamics of this relationship. But a servant leader learns that he has to be able to persuade people to do stuff and to give results. So as a good leader, persuasion is vital to meet the group's goals or objectives. You must have the instinct of incessantly finding yourself seeking fulfillment through directing others to success. So again, it can't be all about you, like Marvin said. It can't be, I had a client in another industry that they had this big promotion they were doing. It was like, the whole goal of the program was for them to get elevated. I said, now why are all these other people helping you to get elevated? Because there's nothing in it for them. We call it with them, so what's in it for me? And so once we redirected that to say, well, let's find out what other people benefit from this project, what other people will grow. And then they became more persuaded to help, not because they were trying to grow him, but because they saw that there was some result in it for them. So again, if you're going to be persuasive as a leader, and this all goes into communication, you have to be, as a servant leader, especially good in the area of persuasion. Conceptualization. And again, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I have a dream. Now, this is where, for small companies, as we start putting together that capacity action plan and what your strategic plan is, this is where you have to stop just having it in your mind and start to actually develop a plan. And one of the things we talk about in a thing I do on success is that most people are not successful because they never take the plan out of their mind. Think about what I'm going to do. And again, as entrepreneurs, especially of a smaller firm, there's really no one holding you accountable. If you worked for Boeing, let's say, and you had a particular project you were responsible for, one, the authoritative leadership would say, you're not going to get paid if this is not done, or you might get fired. Also, you probably have people constantly checking to see is it being done. But as an entrepreneur, often it's just you. And I've seen several entrepreneurs, they'll say, well, I'm going to do this year. And because no one holds them accountable, the next year you meet them, I'm going to do the same things all over again. So what we're trying to do, especially with this website, is begin to be able to have you state what you want to do. And first major hurdle is taking it out of your mind and putting it on paper, putting it into an actual plan, but then holding you accountable to that plan. So again, when you put down when you answer those questions and you say, this is what we want to do, we're going to be calling you to see, are you still in line to have this happen? Did you make a call to do this? You know, it could be simple things. For example, you want to meet a certain person. If we start to build that relationship, we're going to be holding you accountable. Did you make that call? Did you go to that meeting? Okay? So you want to start to be able, as a servant leader, not only just conceptualize something, but also be able to sit down, strategize, and make it happen. Then you have to have foresight. And again, foresight is forecast plus insight. So again, often as a small business owner, you're too involved with the day-to-day. But you have to at some point stop and work on your business and look forward. Now, you should, as the leader, be looking a lot further than your people. And sometimes companies don't grow because they're so busy with the day-to-day that they're right in the midst with their people. But again, most successful CEOs have to take time to break away and forecast based off what they predict will happen in the future, based off what they've known or what their insight they have from their experiences. And this is good, another where communication comes in. How are you going to get insight from your people in the field if there's no open communication, if you're not listening to them, okay? So again, an entrepreneur or a CEO that has good foresight or is a good servant leader will have input from his people as he's making his forecast. Stewardship, very, very important. This comes from the Bible. Thou hast been faithful of a few things, I will make thee rule over many things. Think of, as a business owner, how much responsibility and that you have over not only yourself and your business and your vision, but that vision, you have people that have actually bought into that vision following you. So I think Marvin mentioned firing somebody. People are depending on you. Their lives are literally in your hands. Your employees. You know, if you're not a good steward of the opportunities you have that come before you, it's going to affect them. If you're not a good steward of the finances, it's going to affect the people that are looking to you to be a good leader. And again, a good leader realizes that. And he makes decisions based off not only is it good for him or them, but is it good for the company as a whole and for the people as a whole, okay? Then this was very important, commitment to the growth of others. We've talked about this all day. But you as a leader, you want to be developing other leaders in your organization. And sometimes if you see a person that's and nobody hears this, but like an insecure leader, they want to be the only one that knows everything. They want to be, they're controlling. They get information, they learn a certain thing, they want to be over that. Well, although that may make them feel that they're growing, they're actually limiting themselves because they have now not given the ability to be able to delegate that out to anybody else. But a key part to encouraging employee growth is making it safe for people to take some risk and make some mistakes. Consequently, use a leader to support people and avoid being critical. Develop people around you. This whole website, we're telling you, let everybody in your organization learn the same thing that you know. When I talk to leaders that or owners that cannot step away to work on the business, it's because they've never trained anybody up that they can say, hey, you know what, run this. I think Marvin mentioned, how does it run when you're not there? How does your business run if you were away? Could you afford to take a week sabbatical to sit down and write out your strategic plan without having to worry about the business collapsing? Well, if you're training everybody and you're growing everybody, you're able to do that. How can you never expand to another location? I've seen firms that go national. They have to be able to train people up to do what they do to be able to go national or to be able to grow bigger. So as long as you're trying to do it all yourself and you're not growing people, you're going to have limitations. I tell people I'd rather be a leader of leaders than a leader of followers. Because if I'm leading followers, I've got to constantly try to prime them and pump them and give them to follow me. But can you imagine the dynamic if you were leading other leaders and you've got a room full of leaders and the synergy that everybody's doing their own thing? Matter of fact, most corporations, even in their own structure, they have what they call entrepreneurs, people that are still working in corporate America, but they have taken a mindset of ownership, that I'm a leader in this organization and I'm going to make this division the best. That's the kind of people you want. Same thing, you look at your employees. Who's going to take ownership? Who's going to really want to expand themselves? Who's going to take the time to go and get that information on training and leadership? Corporations spend millions, billions of dollars on training their people on leadership and personal development. We as small businesses have to do the same thing. We've got to start investing back into our people and growing them. And then community building. This is an example here of a community. Now you have the community on your job and community with your employees, but there's also another bigger community you're involved in, for example, in the BJC project. Community builders reject isolation. They move first. They actively move toward rather than away. And again, this is a great one for the people that's in the field to know. Because again, if I might be selling great at the networking events, the CEOs may all love me, but if I have a person on the job site that's isolating themselves, that's not participating, that's not, you need to let them know, hey, you need to get actively, and don't wait for them to invite you, get actively involved in the community that's there. You go to networking events all the time and see the same people in the same clusters. They're not ever going to go beyond what they are because they're not being aggressive. They're not waiting. They're not taking proactive steps to make something happen. So as a community builder, you want to make sure that not only do your people feel that they're part of the community on the job site, in your employee, but also that they feel that they're part of your organization as a community. Okay? And again, these 10 things are things that just start you to thinking about servant leadership. And you can go on the internet, you can find all kinds of stuff about servant leadership and how you can implement it into your organization. Now, if you've been watching ESPN, and especially football, you've probably heard over and over again that I am the defensive coordinator for my son's second grade team, okay? So you all were thinking something else, okay? And I'm gonna show you how this comes into play, okay? We had his first game the other day. It's my first time coaching. He's second grade. It's his first time playing. He played last year. Last year he was extremely small, and he just got, just wiped around the field. But now he's bigger, and he's all excited. So, he's playing on both. He's playing on offense and defense. I'm the defensive coordinator, so I got him, doing all kinds of stuff. So we got out there. It's a close game against Chesterfield. And we're, and the goal, when I first started as coach, I told, I'm going to use all this leadership stuff with this team. I said, not only are we going to teach these kids football, we're going to teach them to be greater people, greater citizens. We're going to teach them leadership. Because to me, football kind of helps there's so many examples in football that can lead to training of life skills. So we got them, I'll tell all the parents in the first meeting, all the kids are going to play. We're going to have a great time. Doesn't matter if we win or lose. We're going to have a great time. So, I had a whole plan written out. I'm going to start subbing in this boy here at this time and send him here at this time. Of course, my son is Arthur Milton Porter IV. He's never going to lead the field. But for these other kids, going to be going on and off at all these different times, right? So I'm thinking in my mind, we're going to start blowing this team out in the first quarter, and then by the second quarter, I'm going to put everybody's other kids in, and they're going to have a great experience. 0-0, halftime, 0-0. It was tight. They had a guy, he was about my height, okay? And he was in the second grade, okay? And he's just smashing all the other kids. Matter of fact, I told my son, I said, get him. And next thing I know, my son's flying across the field. Anyway, so I said, I'm still in my mind. I'm like, we got to win this first game, right? So it's going on and on. Third quarter, 0-0. So finally, they scored. I'm like, oh, my God. We got to catch up. So I'm telling my defense in there, hey, we got to stop them right now. So they stop them. We get the ball back. Now it's in the fourth quarter, getting kind of late. So I'm walking back by the bench, and the little guy says, I haven't played. And in my mind, I'm saying there's a reason. That's okay. And it started to dawn on me, wait a minute, what was all that stuff I was saying about team and we're all into this? So I kind of step off a little bit, hey, relax, I step away. So then another coach says, which is again accountability, he says, he had a whole list. These 4 or 5 people haven't played yet. And so I said, actually, again, I'm in charge of the defense. The other coaches out there with offense. So I said, okay, no problem. Hey, you two going out there on offense. And he turns around and says, what are you sending him out here for? We're trying to win. And that shocked me back into what I had said. So the guys came back out the field, like, you could tell they were upset. And also hearing the parents in the background, like, because that was the twins, Landon and Langston on the team. I shouldn't say their names. But anyway, one of them is extremely good. You don't know which one. And he's on my defense. He plays all the time. The other one has no interest whatsoever, right? And so his mother's like, the other twin hasn't played. And I'm like, okay. And there's a reason for that, too. But I'm thinking about, again, as a leader, what did I say to these kids, right? And what's the bigger picture? I need to be aware of the bigger picture. So when defense comes back out, I go back out there, and I start sitting in, and I'm thinking, again, as an adult, I'm thinking, oh, man, we're going to lose this game, and it's the first game of the season, blah, blah. So I start sending these other kids in, and of course, some of them don't even know where to go. They're looking the wrong direction. One guy was supposed to be in the three-point stance. He goes all the way back, like, to where a linebacker would be, and gets down. I'm like, so my son is like, and other players like, no, come up here, and they pull him up, put him in the right place, and the ball snapped, and that big guy comes, he smashes all of them. And I'm saying to myself, I'm like sending them out to slaughter, going out there. But when the kids came back, you could just see they were so excited because they had been in the game. And so I was like, okay, and we ended up losing the game, 0-6. And before, I know you all want to know this important stat. 4 tackles, 1 sack for Arthur Milton Porter IV. Okay. But anyway, we're sending them back. So the kids come out and they're so excited. And I'm thinking to myself, well, the players that are really playing hard, like my son and the other ones, are probably going to be mad, like, oh my God, we could have won. They were excited. They were so excited, like, oh man, did you see how you did on the play? And so I said, as an adult, I'm thinking about winning. They are thinking about having fun. They didn't care about the fact. I'm sitting up trying to figure out myself, how am I explaining to Arthur in the car, oh, you lost today. He could care less. His first thing he said, he said first thing, what snack are we getting? There are no snacks for losers. No, he said, what snack are we getting? I said, okay. He said, he could care less about this stuff. So I started looking at the fact that, was I listening? Was I listening to what the parents were saying? Let me tell you, after the game, we all huddle up with the kids, and the parents come down, and the mother with the twins was like, oh, I'm so proud of both of my sons. I said, imagine if I hadn't put them in. He would have went home, one of the sons a superhero, the other one would have never played. How many kids probably would have came to practice Tuesday if they had never played? And some of these kids, like I said, I knew going in, and they knew going in that they weren't supposed to play that much, but just that little bit of playing. And so, as I said to myself, as a servant leader, I had to listen to see what were the kids saying. They wanted to play. The parents wanted to see them play. I got to get out of my mindset and look at what other people have to have. Definitely had to have empathy. That wow, what is this going to mean to this kid when he goes away? Because the twins really stuck in my mind because he was doing the one brother was doing so well. He caused a fumble. He was almost as good as Arthur. He caused a fumble. I'm about to cut him. He caused a fumble. He was doing some other stuff, right? And you tell his parents, like, oh my God, his father, oh, go ahead, such and such son. And the other one sitting on the bench like, wow. And so just the fact that he got in, when I heard that parent say, oh, I'm so proud of both of my kids, I said, well, I'm glad I had an empathetic ear to put them in there. I'm sure they all are doing some healing right about now from that big guy. But again, I had to be aware that although I'm thinking about winning, what are they thinking about? Having fun. I had to use persuasion because the offensive guy was like, hey, this is our first game. We're going to beat Chesterfield today. It's the Kirkwood Cardinals, by the way. We're going to beat Chesterfield today, and I had to persuade them, hey, you know what? We were on the goal line probably twice and didn't score. I said, at this point, if we lose, we can't blame anybody. Let's just let everybody play. And I had to persuade them to do that. Again, I had them all week long. I'm telling them, we're all part of it. We win together, we lose together. But then, am I showing that? So I had the idea, but it wasn't actually manifesting itself on the field. And I also had that force, like I said, to think, what's going to be the implication even if we win this game and these kids don't get to play, what impact is that going to have on the team later on throughout the year? That, wow, yeah, they won, but we didn't have to participate. Stewardship, again, these parents are trusting me with their kids to give them this experience, and I'm sitting here not being a good steward over that fact. And again, we're going to grow others. I always, like Sandra said, I always tell people we don't win. We're either going to win or we're going to lose. No, take it back. I tell the kids, I said, look, we're going to either win or we're going to learn, but we're never going to lose. Okay? So what did we learn? We got to grow some people in some certain areas, in certain positions. But we learned something. And after the game, I asked the kids, I said, how many people had fun? And everybody raised their hand. And I said, well, how many people, what did we learn? And so one of the other kids said, we learned that, one of the guys that didn't play, that he can play defensive tackle. I said, we did learn that. And what else did we learn? The kids were beginning to build each other up. But if it had just been a situation where those kids had never played, so again, I had to have them understanding how to build each other up. And also community building. Because now when we left that field, the kids were so happy to have their snacks, and they're so excited about the next game, which I don't know if it's going to be televised, but it's going to be at Troy, Missouri, if you all would like to come out to Troy, Missouri, to see the great coaching and great play of Arthur Milton Porter IV. But I had to realize it was community building. And so, as I started to think about this driving home, and especially putting this together, I said, well, think about what we have here. We got a lot of people in this room that want to play. And the capacity building warehouse is giving us the ability to come and practice and to learn skills and get ready. But the key factor is going to be, do they get to play? And even if it's a small role, do they get to play? And so when we look at, we want to talk, as Sandra mentioned, the relationship tree, how we can get you to team with other people to be able to actually play. I also look at how maybe some of the toolbox firms, maybe some of the contractors are looking, will hear the same information and say, you know what? Maybe I do need to give that small firm a chance. How much better would this project be if at the end of the year there's nobody sitting around saying, but I didn't get a chance to play? So that's all part of being a servant leader. And that's all part of what we hope to have on this team as we move forward on this project to be successful. Now, here's a little thing on servant leadership I want to leave you with. To serve, you need to see the future, engage and develop others. That's what we're asking the toolbox firms and you all even to partner together. Engage and develop other people. Reinvent continuously. Constantly reinvent yourself, okay? As this project changes, you should be growing and reinventing yourself. You know, like those fact sheets. Every one of them should have been wrong. It should have been, yes, this is what it looked like a year ago. I surely shouldn't look like that again. And again, if we're looking at these fact sheets a year from now and you say, oh, it's still the same, then something's wrong. We reinvent ourselves continuously. Value results and relationships. You know, my first sales job was in pharmaceutical sales, and I went in, you know, they trained me probably about 30% of the time on the products I was going to sell. The other 70% of the time was how to build relationships, because we all know people do business with people that they like. And they went through an exhaustive amount of time to train us on how to build relationships, how to make people like you and want to do business with you. Often the products I had, my product would cure your ulcer. The competitor's product would cure your ulcer. The doctor's going to prescribe the product for the rep that he likes. So you can do plumbing, you can do plumbing. But if I've got to pick who I'm going to do business with, I want somebody that I like, I trust, and I know it's going to do a good job. So, and sometimes even if it costs a little bit more. Also, you got to embody the values. As I mentioned, you know, I can talk about servant leadership all day long, but if I don't embody that, then it's not going to permeate throughout my organization. Okay? Now, the first skill we talked about was listening. So, before we leave, I want to do some quick listening skills test, because you really have to develop your way of listening. So if everybody grab a piece of paper right quick. I want to see how well you listen. And if anybody wants to see videos of Arthur Porter, they're on YouTube. Okay. Next Aim in Troy. If you show up there, you're really building a great relationship. Number 27, by the way. He's a beast. Okay, everybody got some paper? I'm going to give you some facts, and there's going to be a very short one-question quiz. Okay? You're a bus driver. You're driving a school bus. Okay? You're driving down to the first stop. At the first stop, two kids get on. One has a red backpack, and the other one has no backpack. Go to the second stop. 3 kids get on. None of them have backpacks. Third stop, nobody gets on the bus. Nobody's there. Fourth stop, you get on the bus, you stop the bus, 3 kids get on, 2 have white backpacks, and 1 has no backpack. Okay? Now you got to write this answer down. You have 5 seconds to write this answer down. Okay? So in 5 seconds, Sandra, in 5 seconds, say stop. You ready? How old is the driver? 1, 2, 3, 4, stop. How many people said 36? How many people said 38? 52? 27? You said 27? He got it right. Because what was the first thing I said? You were the driver. Okay? And so that's what happens when you listen. You all became so entrenched on these backpacks that you started to, so you forgot I even said that. And that often happens when you communicate with other people. Your mind is so set on one thing, you don't even hear what they're actually telling you. So you're sitting there, you're probably calculating the backpacks, and you probably made little columns, white, green. I was making it up as I went. Okay? But if you were really listening, the first thing I said was, you are the bus driver. So this young man got it right, 27. Whatever your age is, should have been the right number.
How we know this is right here?
Unless you're lying about your age, it'll be the right answer. Then one more before we go. Everybody stand up. Everybody stand up. Okay. So you got to do what I do. I mean, you got to follow instructions. You got to listen. Okay? Wiggle your fingers. Get them going there, get them going there, get them going there. Okay. Say what the Milton Porter IV is a great line break. No, you should have seen the sack. We'll talk about it later. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your fingers. Okay. Raise your right hand. Okay, good. Put it back down. Okay. Now put your hands out to the side a little bit. Raise them there. There you go. Okay. All right. Now, I want everybody to take their hands and put them on their head. Hesitation. Okay, you stop now. You can stop with me. But you know what most people do? Most people will do what I do, and they'll touch their stomach instead of their head. People will have the tendency to do more of what you do than what you say. So if I say we're going to be professional, and I come in late, and I'm talking, and I say, oh, the customer's number one, but you hear me bad-mouthing the customers, then you wonder why your people out in the field are not building great relationships, and they're doing the same thing, because although you're telling them one thing, they're seeing you do something different, okay? So this is just we just want to kind of give a brief thing on leadership. Actually, I'm putting something together, which I'm going to talk to Sandra and Marvin about, where we do some team building exercises as a group and bring in, maybe spend a whole 3 hours just going through different exercises to kind of help some team building, because one of the most important ways you're going to be successful in this job is to learn how to work with other people and how to have relationships with other people. So we're going to spend a lot more time on that.